Hi guys, welcome to Thankful Thursdays again with Rachel and I, Kel. So it's actually not Thursday, it's Wednesday and I'm going away on Thursday, so I'm uploading my video a bit early. I'm actually going away for a couple of days to help out on a project that Beat Eating Disorders charity are doing, so hopefully that'll be good. And I've just been and had a blood test, so I look a bit peaky. But anyway, I wanted to get the video done for you guys. So the question that Rachel and I are looking at this week came as a comment to the video we did the week before last, and that was the video about what we've lost to our eating disorder. So the question is, can the eating disordered voice ever be pushed back to a weak whimper? Do we only temporarily drown out this voice by psychological tricks? Now I think this is a question that I certainly asked when I was starting to recover, because I got the impression from other people that full mental recovery wasn't possible, and that I'd to some extent always be battling that voice, that constant vibration in my head. And I guess that's the reason why I wanted to answer this question, because I'm at the point in recovery now where I don't hear that voice at all, ever. However much I'm struggling, it's never about having that anorexic voice in my head anymore. So I suppose my simple answer to the question is that you can beat the anorexic voice, and it isn't just psychological tricks, and it's more than just pushing it back to a whimper really. You can completely push it away, you can get rid of your eating disorder, and I do genuinely believe that, because that's what I'm now living. So I guess one thing that this question made me think about a little bit was about how, you mentioned psychological tricks, and that suggests that you're tricking your eating disorder to allow you to eat healthily and behave healthily. But you're not actually tricking your eating disorder, because what you should be using to battle your eating disorder, sort of the thoughts and the logic, are in actual fact truth, and what your eating disorder is telling you are lies. So they're not actually tricks, they're like genuine truths. And I think that that's really important that you remember that when you're sort of going through that process, because you sit down and you remind yourself how necessary nutrition is and how this is good for your body, and how the eating disorder is lying to you, and reminding yourself things like that aren't tricks because they're truths. So I just thought that was really important to put across in this video, really. So I suppose maybe I could talk a little bit about how I learnt to push the voice back. Like I just said, I used those sorts of statements, and I also, if you look back at the video that this question was in response to, you consider all the damage that eating disorders do and surround yourself by memories of the damage that they do. And I know that sounds very unpleasant, but that's almost the point, because it's doing more damage than good. And maybe if you could sit for a while and write, like I did for that video, write everything that your eating disorder has taken from you and everything that it's given you. And I can really only think of one or two things that my eating disorder gave me. What it gave me was, I suppose, an escape from the emotional pain I was dealing with at the time. But it was only an escape. When I battled my eating disorder, all that came back as well. So that's definitely something to consider in terms of fighting this voice. Other sorts of ways that I learned, I suppose, to get rid of the eating disorder's voice was through the counselling that I had and I still have. And what I mean by that is you need to learn that there are other more effective coping mechanisms. As I've already said, there are so many damaging effects, very few positive effects of having an eating disorder. And there are definitely other ways to cope which don't come with all the negatives. And I think it's important that we learn to stop hurting ourselves to cope with whatever it is that we're coping with, and that we learn to talk to people, that we learn other ways of expressing ourselves, be that writing, painting, drawing, whatever might work for you. And I think that's really important because it shows your eating disorder that there are healthier ways to be doing this. So it's just another point to keep reminding yourself, this is healthier, I don't have to hurt myself, I don't deserve to be hurt, and things like that. And one of the things that is really important in getting rid of the anorexic voice really is just simply nutrition. When your brain is starved, it doesn't work properly and it becomes very focused on one point, and that one point for people with an eating disorder is their eating disorder. And so that sort of gives the voice more power and takes away your power, because you don't have energy to fight, you're not able to do very much other than sit with your eating disorder. But as your body's nourished and your brain's nourished, more importantly, then that does start to subside a little bit simply by that. And it's quite interesting, it was something that I didn't want to hear when I was sort of starting my recovery. I didn't want the starvation itself to be causing all these symptoms, because it's difficult enough to get people to take your eating disorder seriously. So I know this has only been a short video, but as I said, I'm off to Norwich with Beat and I have a train to catch in half an hour. So hopefully that talked a little bit about that question, and if the person that asked the question wanted something more specific out of that, then do feel free to comment on the video or comment the channel or comment me personally. Alright, have a great week.